rest in peace to the 2025 Los Angeles Lakers. They finished the year having lost, but they also finished the year having had a Luka Doncic. So, I mean, who's to say, really? Off-season wise, what we need to get into, just sort of a synopsis of what their salary cap situation is going to look like. They project to be $4 million over the luxury tax if LeBron and Dorian Finney-Smith exercise their player options. That would give them, I mean, they have some expiring or just mid-end contracts. Can you dump money onto Brooklyn or a team with an exception to then access the non-taxpayer mid-level? Are they also in kind of the veterans take less to play for them territory? I don't know that this isn't the big man that they need necessarily, but could they be in the Brook Lopez running by virtue of just being the Lakers and having minutes available at center? Even so, would you agree that it seems like any material changes for this team will be coming via trade?
Yeah, I think so. And to jump on that, like they can trade one of their firsts outright, and they got a bunch of swaps, so it can be 2031 or 2032. They could swap one of those, and then they also have swaps available in 26, 28, and 30. So they have some flexibility. Would you agree though that it's going to be hard for them to or maybe impossible to have the best offer for anyone that has multiple suitors? It will take someone has to steer their way there via trade.
I've seen people wondering if they can get Giannis Antetokounmpo if he becomes and the answer should be no, unless there's just something that I'm missing here.
Yeah.
You're right. They don't have the assets to win a sweepstakes.
Yeah, right.
You could include Dalton Connect, and one of those first round picks is the equivalent of maybe 2 first round picks, outright, not swaps or anything. That's just, what is that? Maybe if you throw Reeves on the table, but then you're getting into some really nuclear scenarios there.
Well, not only that, but not to jump ahead of things, but Reeves is extension eligible, and you're not going to be able to extend him because the most you can do is 4 for $89 because his last deal was such a bargain.
Well, I wonder if he would just sign that based off how worried people are about the NBA's middle class getting squeezed in the new CBA.
Man,
and if he signs that, you pounce, right? You just
if I'm doing backflips if I'm the Lakers and I can keep him for that. Just to follow through, if you're trading for Reeves as a big piece, as a major part of the outgoing or your incoming package, if you're Milwaukee, whatever, it's well, we don't even know, this guy's gonna go into free agency, or at least it's it's a strong possibility, right? Because you just can't be sure he's gonna settle for 4 for $89.
Right. And also, I do think we know their biggest priority needs to be getting a different type of center look in there. The defense was very fly by night during the regular season, and it was exposed during the playoff series against Minnesota. I think we know, and you can get into it a little bit, the prototypical big man that you want to put alongside Luka. Is that still true for you? And then do any names sort of spring to mind? They need to be in the market for this player.
I will answer your question. I have a threshold thing before, which ties to the big man thing. Do you think so? Luka did not look good against Minnesota. There are a lot of reasons for that. He would get his numbers, he would score. Do you think that owes more to the lack of a rim running big guy? A lot of has been made of that. The Lakers don't have that. Luka really thrives if he has that passing option, in the decision tree, as opposed to either he has to try to finish, which he has not looked good enough to do consistently, or just spray it out. Do you think that just if it's Mark Williams, does that make Luka look like Dallas Luka, or is it still health conditioning, that kind of thing, and it won't solve all of the problems?
I really think it's the latter. Do you would you? I don't think Mark Williams, did you see that he tweeted a smiley face after the Lakers loss? It was, I hope people quote tweeted with film of him playing defense for most of this year. I don't think, I do think that's the type of big you still offensively you still want alongside Luka, but Luka Doncic will figure out a way to have iconic performances when he is fully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to just excuse the health to what part his own conditioning played in it, and then also just choppering into a new team.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of variables at play here, but he looked like he could move by the end of the Timberwolves series. And that matters more than, the Lakers don't have a center and they only have Jackson Hayes. I thought it was kind of cute that people were like, how did JJ not play Jackson Hayes by the end of that series? And it was, if that's what you're quibbling over, clearly he just didn't have options at his disposal.
Yeah, no, I think so. To answer, it's got to be, you just have to have, I don't know how good the guy even needs to be. It just nobody thought Daniel Gafford was all that great until he ended up in Dallas. So like Daniel Gafford level. So like the 20th or 25th best starting center in the league, something like that would do it,
Could Luka like reinvent or not reinvent, reboot Clint Capella's value? He's a free agent that maybe the Lakers could afford.
So, sure, someone like that. I mean, Lopez is. I hadn't even thought of Lopez, but like if you,
That's like the opposite
he's
of
the
what.
complete opposite. But that's kind of fun to think about. I just as a guy that has to be guarded on the perimeter. Has Luka? I guess you'd say like Kleba was the closest that Luka ever got to having like a stretch five on the floor with him. Am I forgetting somebody in
No.
Dallas? Like he never really went with that look consistently.
Yeah, and it's just like but the number of centers who would check that box. I mean,
Yeah.
would you want to be interested in Bobby Portis if you're able to get him? He is a player option.
No, as
He's
a
not really a
backup, maybe.
center. Would you? I just don't know how they go about like how much does it cost to get Rob Williams from Portland? He's never healthy, so you can't. I'm not giving up a first round pick for him, but
Mhm.
you have some matching money. Are they if they're out on that experience? Is that does he check enough of like if he's healthy alongside Luka boxes? Or are you looking for someone that has more size?
I think the health if is like a little too big, but yeah, maybe. It's been so long since Robert Williams has played consistently. I honestly don't know if he's is like still a legit lob threat of the caliber that Luka could really utilize. Um, yeah, I still am. Maybe it is though, because I think the thing I come back to is like the guy doesn't have to be. I don't know who's the best. It doesn't have to be peak Anthony Davis, ironically, or Giannis, or it doesn't have to be Clippers DeAndre Jordan. We don't need like a truly great lob threat. Like Luka will make a decent lob threat guy a good lob threat.
But I mean, I'm also kind of looking at like the big man free agents, and there's just not a lot of inspiring options if you're looking for an actual lob threat. Or you want to like a reunion with Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's not getting off the floor anymore. I think. Well, and that's the thing is like that's not the only thing the Lakers need. That's the most conspicuous one, and it's the one that theoretically makes helps Luka the most. But like you could use another shooter. You just need more front court size in general. Like you just have to have because I don't think like Hayes is unrestricted, right? Hayes is gone most likely unless you bring him back on a minimum and just don't intend to play him. I think you need at least the lob threat guy to start. You probably need a backup five, and you probably need another four with some size too. So it's maybe you get away with Hachimura, DFS, and LeBron, but it's not just the rim running guy.
Do you assign any value to? Look, this could just be like in the fog of war type thing, but LeBron sort of saying he needs to think about his future and how much the Lakers even want to prioritize him. He has a player option, so the control if the Lakers don't want him. He's a no trade clause and a player option, so like the power is in his hands.
Right, and eligible to sign for 3 years and up to 175 if he doesn't pick that player option up, which he basically has not done anything other than a 2-year deal for a really long time. So that's probably not going to happen. I think he still has to be a pretty big priority, at least until you get Luka. Well, then this ties to the Luka extension eligibility. What is it? 4 for 229. I think he can sign for. So like,
Do you think Nico Harrison would offer that contract?
Well, maybe he'd offer that one. I don't know. He wasn't going to offer the bigger one. What another stroke of luck for the Lakers. They can't even pay Luka like the most he could have made. They have to. They get the bargain rate.
Yeah, I would agree that it feels like they need I think you could argue that they need just like another wing type because all your wing types are just starting. It's
Yeah,
like, what are the backup
and they're
wing?
really more forwardy than
Right.
wingy.
And
Yeah,
it's just you just get into like what do you have those resources. Ideally maybe you divvy them up or address multiple needs in one trade. I just don't know, like the assets are so modest. You're gonna point being you're gonna have to get some hits on like kind of the minimum or exception market, whatever you're working with.
yeah,
They would be, I don't like if any other big spring to mind. Like I was thinking, does Mitchell Robinson make sense for this team if he expiring contract? I don't know what the Knicks would want for him. He might not be enough. Like he doesn't have the hands and maybe isn't enough of a lob threat, but like defensively, he
yeah.
could still turn on the Jets there. I
Yep.
thought about Nick Claxton. Like his
Oh,
deal doesn't look as good as it did like last offseason. What does it cost to get him out of Brooklyn?
and if he can be the best version of himself. He can switch a little bit, or used to be able to switch a lot, and like maybe solve some of the Luka targeting things, like or at least mitigates that a little bit. Yeah, he's interesting. I feel like he's. Do you think they'll go after someone in his like pay grade? That feels like you're using up a lot of your limited resources and flexibility. Where I think as we're talking about it more, you need like 3 different types of guys, and you can't use it all on
Well, I mean,
class.
the fact that they were going to trade for Mark Williams makes me wonder if they would just go
Well,
that route because, like,
they did, and then they thought better of it.
yeah, well, he was financially, like, cheap,
Right.
but in terms of asset equity, then you were gonna have to bankroll his next deal, which I assume won't be insubstantial. Maybe it won't be Nick Claxton's $25 million a year, so that's a good
Yeah.
call out.
Um, just going through, what do you think the most likely scenarios are contract wise for Luca, LeBron, and Reeves? Like in terms of their, the extension eligibility and opt outs and all that stuff. Like, how do you think this shakes out in each case?
I think LeBron opts out, will sign another 1+1, or maybe he'll sign the full like, he's older, so he might just lock up the 3 years, and
Mm,
he's a he's less integral to the Lakers because of Luka than before,
mhm.
so he might view it as having less leverage.
Interesting.
Um, so I think that'll happen. I think Luka puts pen to paper on the extension because this season, I'm not saying it was warranted, had to be some sort of a reality check with the way things played out in Dallas. Plus, look at how he looked towards the end of that Timberwolves series. He might just want to lock up like the extension now rather than wait so that you could add the extra year and the extra money
Yeah.
onto it.
Well, that's the thing, all right. He can sign a 2+1 essentially extension and then get back into free agency sooner. So the argument would be like he could make back up the 100+ million he can't get by virtue of being traded from Dallas to LA. You think he'll go the 4 229?
I think he will. I'm going to
Okay.
predict that he does. And if he
Interesting.
doesn't, that might make things in like maybe he's trying to time his free agency with Jokic's at that point. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So look at that. Dorian Finney-Smith, I kind of feel like he's going to opt in and extend. Do you think that's how this ends?
Well, he's like right around the mid level, right?
Right.
I wrote it down. Like he's
His
right around 15 or 4,
and the mid
15.4.
and the mid level is 14.1. I assume not a lot of teams have flexibility, but I assume that if he wanted to leave, there would be a multi-year mid-level exception offer on the table for him.
Yeah, so it's going to take at least that, right? So I don't know what you go up to for him, but
I
yeah,
mean, you could lower his pay rate in the extension too, is what you like per year. So it's like, would he sign an extension, or I guess keep him flat, like a 3-year, $45 million extension? Is that not enough to lock him up?
that's the question. I mean, that's a good like over under to set it at. Whereas because if you're the Lakers, I think you're pretty darn happy if you got him for that, right?
He was for the most part spectacular for them, especially during the regular
Well,
season.
he matters. Like the older LeBron gets, and the more I don't know if Luka's just never going to be in shape. Like you got to have that guy. Like he just has to guard somebody
Here's a question for you: which player is most likely to be traded this summer?
on the whole team.
No, just on just in the starting line.
Of LeBron, Luca, and DFS. I'd say DFS probably. Um, it's okay. So who do they?
Gabe
This
Vincent's expiring. That Jared Vanderbilt contract has not aged well.
no,
The
I'm
Rui contract, which I slammed, his age. I posted this on Blue Sky where I said it doesn't really get talked about enough that Rui went from a 35% three-point shooter in Washington who was so erratic and then just turned into a 40+% dead-eye guy in LA. And everyone's like, the LeBron effect, he's not a good shooter. And it's just, yeah, the LeBron has definitely helped, but also just he had players who actually get downhill and move off the
right.
ball and Reeves and AD. But like the form just looks, I'll say more fluid if it's not quicker. And
Yeah.
he's just, you still did not, it's not like he was shooting 45% on wide open threes during his like duration in Washington.
Well, do you remember too, like how much we hate? I remember how much I hated his shot profile. It's like, oh, he's super
Yeah.
good at the like 16-foot pull up. That shoots a lot of those, or like the turnarounds from the baseline that are 2-point shots. Like,
Yep.
I mean, he deserves most of the credit for changing
Yep.
how he plays, but it's also a little bit of like, oh, once he was on a team that was good enough to say like, hey, knock it off, like shoot these shots,
Yeah. And,
like there's stakes here, and
yeah.
then he did it.
And there's the gravity part, but I did note because when people said that he shot lower on threes off passes from LeBron this year than he did overall. So I do think there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, like defenders being pulled
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from him in general. But it's just the improvement there has been great for him. And I think he's someone who I don't know that you would say teams are tripping over themselves to get his contract, but if you were to as a like a salary matcher, he
Well,
might be
that's the
someone with actual value.
That's the thing is that's why I was like kind of trying to. You have to choose someone that would have real trade value that the Lakers could talk themselves into affording. That oh, we can upgrade on this somehow. Rui's like kind of threading that needle, right? Because teams would like he has like some and he has enough like playoff like bona fides now to where it's like, yeah, he can guard up and he can make shots and like
He's the Jokic stopper.
that's enough. Like, yeah, he shut down Jokic. You guys remember that? Yeah, you wouldn't want to trade him, but
No.
also like how are you
You do,
enticing someone from another organization to trade somebody good unless Rui's in the deal?
yeah, because I think that him and Reeves, and you could say the same about Dorian Finney-Smith, but you get it that okay, like we just named their 5 best players and they're all indispensable. But aside from LeBron and Luka, it's Rui, DFS, and Austin Reeves have the most standalone
Mhm.
value. And I don't think you want to trade any one of those guys right now. So I think I would pick Kleba and Vincent are both on expiring deals. They make like in that $11 million range.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick one of them. And I think I'll say Vincent just because you might hold out hope. And like if Maxi Kleba is just healthy and can either move on defense or is hitting threes or both, he
Yeah.
becomes like kind of a rotation asset.
The story of Maxi Kleba since 2018,
Because Gabe Vincent
basically.
shot the ball well better down the stretch, but it's just ultimately like you have Luka and Reeves and LeBron. I don't know how much his offense matters to you, and he plays sort of a defensive. Well, I guess you get into he can take some of like the tougher perimeter defensive assignments, but
In
like
theory.
Dorian Finney-Smith's going to do that anyway.
Yeah,
So
right. All right. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. Make sure you've rated, reviewed, subscribed, 5 stars, many thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave some comments there. Let us know what your thoughts are. Join our Discord. Links for that in the YouTube and podcast description. We close as always with a shout to Frank Ntilikina and an apology to Jarrett Allen.